Hi guys, you're in the right place if you want to learn how to draw by understanding what you're looking at rather than breaking things down into shapes. And today we're going to be doing this common kingfisher. So a big thank you to Rhodri Ford for letting us use your gorgeous photo for today's tutorial. So I've done a handout for you. The link is in the video description, and you should just be able to click that link and print this out. But what I'd like you to do is, obviously I want you doing all the work with the shading and the detail. So, just whatever. I hope you can find this useful as a bit of a guide, and maybe your outline can be better than mine. But with a kingfisher, they have these, they hover over the river, and they have these long, sharp sword-like bills, and they dive into the water and they grab a fish. So the most amazing thing is they don't fly very far with the fish alive flopping in their bill. They like to kill it before they go back to the nest. So they will always perch on a very sturdy, big, dead limb of a tree that is on the bank of the river. And they'll perch there, and then they whack, whack, whack the fish against the log to kill it, and then they fly off to the nest. So if ever you're doing a sketch of like for a little card or a painting or whatever, it's a good idea not to put your kingfisher on a little twig like a chickadee. You know, put them on a great big dead branch. So okay, enough about that. I hope by now you're kind of all set up. You need your scrap piece of paper, a pen that you like. I think I'm going to use this one today. It feels like a little, it's like totally not that warm. So I think the ink is not flowing too quickly. But that's all right. We just use different pressures, a light touch to get some faint shading, and a heavier touch with more layers to get a little bit of depth and contrast. So, I really have like zero authority to talk about common kingfishers because they're not on this side of the pond, actually. So, but that said, I'm guessing he looks kind of like a typical kingfisher, a stocky body, a very short, sturdy tail, and this long bill to go deep into the water to get the fish. So for your own sketch today, I think for sure it's a win. It's already a win because you're here keeping me company. But if you can have this long bill and kind of a stocky little body with a short tail, that's going to be fabulous. So let's just get going, which I'm always like nervous to do. I think I'm gonna go this way. So a little bit different here. I'd like you to maybe start with the bill. And either like big or not, it's going to determine the size of your overall sketch. So the reason I wanted to start like this is because you see all these patches like a little jigsaw puzzle around the front of the bill and the cheek and going down even the throat. So all these little pieces fitted together, it's very typical of a kingfisher as well, with the cheek patches and whatnot, different markings. So in practicing our our orientation of one piece in relation to another, I would like us to really take our time figuring out how we're going to do these markings around the face, and just see if we can go from one marking to the next, and if that will keep us oriented with our like with his key features, and how, you know, like if we can do all these pieces appropriately in relation to each other with the eye, then we're going to end up hopefully not screwing up his head too much. So with the front of the bill coming down, this is very, I don't know, this, I'm just trying this different kind of approach to how we can sort of fit them together. I hope you're not starting on the body, because my hand is totally blocking what you need to see. And the reason I wanted to try this is because, okay, wait a second, this is clear, and then this is going to be dark. Oh, don't want to get too distracted. I gotta concentrate, because this is like ain't easy. And see how it's like, it doesn't look like much in the photograph, but see how there's this kind of like that marking around the eye. That's also very typical of a kingfisher. I shouldn't have stopped to show you that, because now I'm going to get screwed up where my placing is. Now I'm going to try to get his eye in there. You see how big that eye is? He's got to be able to see the fish under the surface and decide where he's going to hover and where he's going to dive. And see how big the whole eyeball is? The light that's reflecting off it is this great big grayish patch here at the top. Now just use a light touch for now. We're going to go back later and add a bunch of contrast, but if you can just shade along the dark patches as you go, then you're not going to get, hopefully not get too confused about what is orange, what is white, what is black, and where you want them to be. Okay, so now this is the white, this is the dark one in the front. This is dark under his eye. This is dark because it's the eye. That should be dark. Okay, and this is orange. This is the blue. It's a little bit too forward. I just want to take this up a little bit to do his forehead. But because this curve is just so typical of a kingfisher, I want you to be super careful, not go too high, and I don't want you to go back too far just yet. Because he's got, you know, his head is twisted nicely toward us. I want to make sure that we capture that. So you see how these are the feathers under the throat are just a little bit ahead of the other ones. We come down for the throat a little bit and then immediately curve out to the chest. And this just curves a little bit. Okay, now let's figure out, this is a dark kind of shading around the upper. Is it a mandible? Probably not. This comes through. And then we've got this lighter patch. The light's picking up. So this is dark underneath. Let's remember to make that dark. Make this dark. Now there's this for the throat markings. His throat is white. It's like a little jigsaw puzzle, you know? We've got all these different sections that we've got to see if we can make them kind of like fit together. So see how this patch is like, it's not huge because he's got the orange there as well. So this is where I kind of got into trouble when I was trying to do the handout for you guys. It's trying to be attentive with this patch on his cheek. And I made it a bit too big. So now the orange patch goes under the eye. And part way down. So I just want us to try to go from feature to feature. Okay, this one is orange. And this shoulder band I need like a little piece of tape to put on my as markings. This part's white, this is orange. So the reason I wanted you to do this way is because otherwise we might make him too thick and the head too big and all that kind of stuff. But now we know that this white piece is supposed to go straight down into his back. This blue patch comes down onto his shoulder a little bit. And then the white ends with the orange on the breast. Gosh, for once in my life, am I drawing a small sketch? Okay. That's me kicking the stool. I'm gonna put this underneath. So if we come down, see how this comes out. His face, that's not too bad. It's like kind of like turning my page a bit too much. And then see this short little body. This is like his throat, his upper chest. This is his rib cage, and straight down into his tummy. And here we are already at his feet. I don't want to do this just yet in case I screw up. I don't like the angles. I've kind of got him tilted back too much. And straighten them up. And then now you can, I think if not the hard part, but you know what I mean? If we've got our markings there, okay, then we can try to get in his back part. So see how this is at the top of his shoulder? Look at this nice kind of curve with the white markings here. And then we've got the angle up at the back of his head. And some tiny little bit of a crest there. Okay, right now I can tell I don't like how narrow I've done his face, so I'm going to probably bump this out later. I'll forget later, I'm going to do it now. Okay, so I just want to extend this white patch a little bit. And we want the width of the body from his rib cage straight through to his back. And then see how this kind of comes down almost straight. Geez, you guys, this is totally going to be the smallest the smallest sketch I've drawn on this channel. And I'm going to have to plump him up a little bit. I'm just eyeballing it. When you put in the wing, pay attention to the amount of space you're leaving between his chest and the wing is, because this, having these close together, it shows us how he's perched on the branch. If you have the wing all the way over here, that means it's more of a side profile. But he is kind of sitting with his back toward us a little bit and his head turned. is why it's such a fabulous, incredible photo. It's like he's watching for fish, but he's kind of like seeing what's going on too. We do have kingfishers on this side of the pond, but they are belted kingfishers typically with a big crest. So all this fuzzy nonsense here is typical of kingfishers as well. And if you like, you know, I'm just sort of like picking up a little bit of the charcoal black tone in the feathers that comprise this wing, and they do kind of like come out onto his back a little bit. And then these here, these feathers here are these here, and these tips here are these. That's why they're dark, because of the coloring and also because of the angle. And this big feather here is this one here. I don't know if I should drop that down a little bit more. That's not too bad where it is. So later on, I think I want to move that over a little bit. I should have had a larger space there. Okay, so there's that one, and then there's another one underneath. This is actually a bit of shading because this is his body here, and the wing is sticking out above his body. So this dark right here is a little bit of shading. His tiny little curved body with his tiny little wings sticking out. Okay, so this part on my sketch is a bit, it's too wide. So it's time to move this feather over. We're gonna refold his wings and just bring these out a little bit. And then that one's tucked under. okay. See how furry he is with these really fine feathers along his back. Let's just do some light shading with this kind of really cool tone of bluish gray. And you don't want to go too heavy at first, because then you're going to be committed to adjusting everything else to the same kind of tone. So this shade that I've chosen here is what I want to kind of duplicate in there. The sun's catching his back a little bit. Okay, and this is also similar kind of bluish gray. How about, if you feel comfortable, let's go around and do some of these borders where it's kind of like the black markings or the darker gray. Let's sort of actually define some of these sections where the feathers are overlapping. And well, I say that now I don't know where to go. I'm going to do this band. So the feathers that have one, it's just one feather, right? That'll have a whole bunch of different markings along its shaft. So when you find a feather on the ground or whatever, it might be yellow underneath, gray at the end, white in the middle. So just pick up some of at least some of these feathers have darker borders. See a couple of those. The point is, he's not going to mind if we're not too meticulous. Okay, I said that we were going to do these dark markings, and then I completely buggered off to another section of the bird. Oh well. Okay, how do I want to do this? I want to turn my page, if you guys don't mind. Well, I normally do anyway, so should today be no different. Okay, just want to see how there's a real dark border in that intersection. Those patches. And some good definition there. And shade in underneath his chin. A little bit. Down. And then let's do a little bit with the orange. Nice and light. We will shade in his tummy. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about his feet. Sturdy little toes. Oh darn. See? These are the fluffy bum feathers underneath the tail, and this is the curve of his body, and I didn't do that correctly. Let's move this over a little bit. Well, I'm not sure that's much of a correction. Stay away from the bottom of his body since I screwed that up. Okay, now we know what sections are dark on his face, so maybe you can just go back and get more contrast in there. Darken it up where it's supposed to be. And then keep your pen away from the parts that are supposed to be a little bit lighter. Okay, this is the white patch on his nose, and then this should be darker, just especially along the bottom. So whatever shade pressure you've used to do the orange on his chest, just use the same to do a little bit of the orange on his nose. It's kind of gray. Surround underneath the eye. So see at the back of the eye, there's just this little bit of black that goes there, and then we've got some gray that bumps into that orange. Okay. Now, how are we going to handle all these markings on his head? Well, you're going to do whatever you like, but what we can do is just, because they're gray, like his back, we can just give the impression of the bands. Just kind of intersect and go. It's primarily on the top of his head. Where am I here? Okay, so this is all, okay, so to, see how the back of his head is like intersecting about here? Of course, my paper's crooked. Hang on, if I straighten out my paper, do I straighten out the bird or straighten out the paper? If I go down, see, I've got too much of a curve here, which I don't like. Time to flatten his head. And then I want to just take that curve a bit more to the back. So do similar adjustments on yours. Though maybe you got it like fabulously perfect. And I'm just picking up my pen and doing some darker markings to give the impression of the gray that's along the side of his head. And then we'll go back over all of it with a bit of shading. But I just want you to be happy with the shallow curve of his head, the placement of the crest of the feathers is primarily above his eye, and then this angle at the back of his head down to the curve of his back. It's such a brilliant fluorescent blue, just so beautiful. My gray pen is picking up perfectly. Do you think we should give him some feet before I forget? So, no joke about them, perching on like a dead log or something like that, because they really do. See how you can tell he's a hunter with his bill and not his claws like an eagle, right? This is what catches the fish, but he doesn't want to fly with it flopping around. So and sometimes it takes 7-8 whacks before they can kill it. So they're always on a great big sturdy branch. Okay, so where's this toe? Find where you are on the wing. Just want to define that black feather, and then the other black feathers, these little flight feathers. The side one here. Help me figure out where his toe is. Oh, that's okay, about there. Right, yeah. Okay, well, I didn't get the angle that great, but and then there's a little gap here because it's the top of the dead wood. This toe is like way too big. Okay. Time for me to put some meat on his bones because I think he's like too skinny. Push the chest out a little bit more. And down like this. So now I just want to go back and just do more shading, color them up using different tones, different amounts of pressure with my pen. And as usual, you know, like the errors in the sketch, you've got to correct according to what you've drawn rather than, you know, what's actually in the photograph. But because you understand how he's all put together, you can make the corrections sort of as they should be. Hopefully. Oh. And just doing shading and then some extra pressure where I want it to be darker. This comes in quite dark into the base of the throat here. Make this white patch a little bit smaller. really actually do too much more around his face because this gray, I don't want to get myself in trouble actually. Garbage day today. Garbage and recycling. The boys are going around with the trucks. This is a boo-boo. Should not. I don't like his chin feathers being out so much. Okay, this one's orange. This is blue. Can't you tell? Let's use a bit more pressure there to find the black that's on the border. Okay, that's the orange one, and this is the white. Do I kind of want to stay away from? But I can sort of darken up a little bit here to show the curve of his back. Notice how I've kind of like ignored all of this on his upper back. And his tummy is too big. So maybe what I can do is shade the post that he's on. I think I just colored over his toe. So leave that alone. Let's see how it's quite dark there. So let me use that to correct his profile. A good opportunity. Okay, no more dicking around. This is our little orange toe. I did the claw too big, so now I gotta move the post up. Okay, his tummy I made too fat. Look how fat I made him here, so I gotta back this up. So what I'm gonna do is pretend that that's where the post goes. It's only 2 little toes, and I just, compared to some of the feet that we've had to draw, this is like crazy that I've buggered him up this much. I shade the post to sort of like fix around his tail as well. It should be lighter. That's part of this. It's in the sun. Okay. So have a look overall at your sketch and see what you think. Do you have some good features on his face with all these different patches? See how nicely curved he is? See how nicely curved he isn't? Aren't you glad we don't have to draw a little fish in his bill? Okay, it's a bit too thick here. I don't know, he's not too bad. I kind of like him. And since it's all about me, when in doubt, shade the tree branch, or in this case the post. This makes us feel better. It feels so productive. Okay, well, tricky birdie, what can I say? At least he's not huge. Oh, you know what? You'd expect nothing less of me to like mess around. I just want to darken this side of his head. A little bit more. So I want to make his eyeball a little bit bigger. See, it's never too late to do. It's never too late to make an eyeball bigger, put a wing in a different place. Let's really darken that up. I don't know why is my pen's not really sticking to the ink isn't laying down anymore. So I'd like messed around too much with the paper, I think. Oh, that's okay. It's getting to the point where I don't want to risk screwing them up. So how about we call it quits for today? God, it could be another 20 minutes of me dicking around with my pen. Anyway, okay. Our little common kingfisher, which would be so lovely to see over here, but if we did, he'd be off course by a couple thousand miles. Okay, you guys, as usual, thank you so much for your company. Have a fabulous day, and I'll see you next time. And use the download so that you can do a better job than this, okay? See you later.